Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Dave here with Affordable Door and Gate, and today we are going to talk about lasers. So, Joe, a friend of mine, I consider, asked me kind of about the laser. I don't remember the exact question. It's kind of hard for me to dig through sometimes the comments and find them, but I know he asked something about it. Joe, brother, I consider you as a friend. Thanks for the question. So, the laser that I use is this Milwaukee. It's this model right here. Kicked the camera. So, what I like using this laser for is I'm going to show you. I actually like using the laser for a couple reasons. I like using it for my horizontal tracks to see if they're level because, you know, I use a little bit bigger level than this, but this has been always kind of my go-to guy right here is the bullet level. It's just so universal. It's got a magnet on it. This has just been, and I still carry this because sometimes I just don't believe in this technology. It can let you down. But this guy, unless you break it, he hasn't let me down yet. So I like looking at the horizontal track. And then I like looking at the position of the vertical where the horizontal meet. Let me explain. Let me put this up. So you can see in front of me here, we got the laser going across the door. And what I'm always looking for is I want to see where these meet up. This is the best spot I found to look for. Because if you've ever done garage doors, have you ever chased the cables? Have you ever wondered why the cables slack on one side but not the other? Well, I have for years. And to be honest, I don't know why it took me so long to figure it out. But I used to think on the cables, sometimes people put an extra swedge on there. And I remember I used to think to myself, I go, what's this little extra swedge for? And I'm always like, it would fall down, you know, and I was like, they use that extra swedge to help balance out the door, you know, so one side doesn't slack, right? So I remember me and another guy one time when I was, you know, a greenhorn, we were putting extra swedges on there. We let them fall down and then we put the swedges on the cables, trying to get the cables to lock up because, you know, if the door goes up and that cable slacks, when the door is in the up position, the cable falls off. Well, you have a catastrophic failure, you have a callback, more money out of your pocket, an upset customer, a door that's crumpled now. So I, for the longest time, couldn't figure them out. Well, I found out, I asked a seasoned vet one time, I was like, you know, why do they put that on there? And he says, well, it's for the drum to have a better bite because when you smash that, what do they call it, it's a nipple? I don't know what it's called, but it's on the end of the cable. When you smash that, sometimes you deform it where it could pop out of the drum, you know, out of the spot there. So anyways, I digress. So I, for the longest time, was always chasing, you know, I could never understand why does a cable slack on the door? Well, you know, in the instructions, they tell you to bring your track off like a 1/2 inch, you know. Well, and I'm not much of an instruction meter. I've always been just roll because with garage doors, for some reason, they typically like to be, there's like a happy spot for them. I've done them before. It's like, I can have this one, I can have this one. And this one acts totally different, even by the same installer, by myself, everything. And it's like, what's going on? It could be the springs, could be a lot of things. So anyways, I like looking at if the track is somewhat level. So on this last job I was at with the low headroom job, I was trying to figure out, because the building was leaning so bad, I was trying to figure out where I was at for plumbness. So I typically like to use the laser level because it really idiot proofs things for me. It's self-leveling, and if it's out of level, it'll actually blink. And I'll show it to you here in a minute. But I really like using it even for the shaft across the top because that's one thing. Some manufacturers, I can measure the drums and I can get my center plate. Some I can't. So I like the laser as a backup, as like almost like a friend. You know, you ever do when you do residential and you got another installer with you and you put up the spring, right? And you're like, how's it look? You're doing that. How's it look? How's it look? More? And he's like, a little more up, a little more up, a little more, or a little down, right? And you put your screw, it's like having that second friend there just as a reminder to kind of balance you out to go, okay, you know, I'm way out of whack. Something's going really wrong here. And you have a visual you can look across your shaft. So I've really been enjoying the laser. I always wanted to try it more at commercial with full vertical lift doors. Because I remember one time we did this big job and I was still in my beginner stage, let's just say. And I kept thinking I had to weld the track. And I was so scared because I thought if I weld the track and it's not right, and you know how it is, I can't bring up the door yet, you know, unless you obviously mount the springs up there and do some craziness, which was not in my neck of the woods. But I thought, how am I going to, I always wanted to run it vertically. So I could just see if I could just follow that from the bottom when I'm stacking my door and then my vertical up and go, it lines up. You know what I mean? And it's good because sometimes you get up there and you're in a lift and your equilibrium's like off. You know what I mean? So you don't know exactly where you're at presently. And if you had a laser that was just shooting where you could kind of aim it, I always thought that'd be really helpful. I haven't really experimented. I tried it a few times. It was kind of cumbersome. So I think that's also why I would have done a little bit better laser than what I have now, is because it just gives you that flexibility of a full 360. And so this one is limited. So like when it's on the ground, you might only go up so high. So it's kind of and sometimes it's a little bit hard to see when you're in certain areas. So sometimes you just have to go back to old school and, you know, use a bigger level, obviously, than this when you're doing certain things. But anyways, before I show you that level of what I got, that was some of the reasons why I like the laser. I'm sure there's many other uses for it. I just like having it really for the track is the biggest thing. So I know my cables shouldn't slack when I get done stacking my door. But another helpful little laser, if you're ever looking for one, is this guy. This is the Bosch. I don't know if it has a model or anything. Focus. Focus. But this little guy has helped me out quite a bit. And what I like about it is real simple. And that's what I like, is I like simple. So it just tells you the readout. You know, I bought this one years ago. And this thing was nothing but problems. This thing I never trusted. What is it, Johnson? Johnson. But this guy has just got way too many bells and features. Oops, sorry. It's got a side button. It's got this button. I'm surprised it even turns on. I haven't used it in a long time. I'm surprised the batteries aren't. It's got way too many things going on with it. You know, it's got the laser there. You can butt it up here. The problem I never liked about it is they had so many options to where you could set this, and then it can do it in, I don't know, it can do all kinds of stuff. More things than I need it to. It's like having a calculus calculator. I mean, it's just, I don't need it for that. I just need to do multiplication. You know, I mean, I don't need this complex. So this thing was never a good money. I never enjoyed it. It sits around more and collects dust than it does ever get used. I still keep it in the van for backup because one time, a little story. I'm at a job and I get there and I really don't know what I'm getting into. They want me to look at some door. We want to put a roll-up door in there. And it's actually for a train cart. No, it's train cart, but the train cart can lift or something so it can dump the load. It might have been for semis. I can't remember. It was so long ago. And I remember I get there and this thing was like 20 feet tall. I mean, it could have even been bigger than that. It was at least 20 feet tall though. And I remember I only had like maybe it might have been 24. I can't remember, but I only had like a 20-foot tape measure. And I'm in this building. And I remember like the wind is just howling through here, right? And I'm sitting there, you know, come on, tape measure, come on. You know, I don't have a Fat Max or anything. I might, even if I had a Fat Max, I don't think I would have done it because it was so tall. And I remember I'm sitting there and I'm just like thinking to myself, how am I going to get the dimensions off this? I mean, I don't have a ladder with me. I'm just like, I'm in like sand. I mean, it's like one of those conditions that you're just like, I'm screwed. Like, what do I do? So I remember I'm like walking back and forth and there's another contractor there. And so finally I did like the walk of shame, you know, walk over. Hey, mister, you by chance don't have a laser, do you? And he's like, what? He's like, you don't have a laser? And I'm like, no. And so he goes, well, it's going to cost you. And at the time I'm trying to get the job. And I got, you know, back then I got 5 more service calls I got to go to. And so I tell him, I go, what do you need? You know, what do you want? You want $20? What do you want? And he goes, case of beer. I said, You got it. He goes, I don't care what it is. I want a case of beer. You got it, buddy. So he measured it even for me. And I'm sitting there writing down, you know, and I went and got him a case of beer. So, so that's when I ended up, I bought the first one, which was this Johnson. And like I said, that was kind of a mistake. I bought it kind of on a whim. I didn't know anything. And then I watched another builder one time, another one of our builders, when he came across this Bosch. And I was like, I go, man, I mean, he just whipped it out and he just did it. It was real slim. It fit in his pocket. So when, you know, that one I put on my side and I'm unvelcroing it and stuff. And I really liked it. So I said, hey, what are you using there? And he said, oh, you just, you know, they're whatever, 30 bucks or something, 40 bucks at the store at Lowe's or Home Depot. And so it worked really good. So lasers can be your friend. I just still don't trust them for some reason though. I had a job one time we did for the mall. We did a big roll-up door and inside the mall. And it was like 34 feet wide by, gosh, I don't know, 10 feet tall. It was a monster. It was just one of those like security curtains. And I remember I was using the laser, but boy, I couldn't trust it. And I remember for whatever reason, when I used the tape was more accurate and I was getting it, but it was tough because I was there by myself. So I was trying to find, you know, curious ways to hook it. Plus I had customers coming in and out. So it was like, I had to drop it, you know, go ahead, go through. So the laser does have its place, but you know, it does take time to build trust in them. Let me show you this laser. So here's the Milwaukee that I use. It's rechargeable. It's got different modes. You know, you got your, what is that, your horizontal? Let's see here. Got your vertical. It'll do both. Let's see how now it's blinking. It's just too far out of levelness. So it's got this little ball. It's got like a ball on there that kind of floats around to get your level. You know, you can also lock it. Whoops. What do you do? Right there. So now it's locked. So if you needed to do your own customization, you could do that. That just turns it off, the switch for the off position there. It's got this magnet, so this works nice because you can typically find it any place in the garage door world to magnetize to something. You know, it does have these little adjusters for moving it side to side, not up to up, anything I know. It's just side to side, a little bit of motion, just side to side. So the Milwaukee's been pretty nice. I like it. I don't like the cost. I would like to get some for the guys. I don't know. I fear though that if I buy it, they don't use it. And the other thing is too, is that if they do the Houdini, and these things are not cheap. I mean, I think the low end is 400 and some change to $600 to $800. So I've been playing around with it and I've been happy with it because like I said, it's just like having that guy behind you that just kind of helps reassure things for your levelness. Because if you have somebody that's inexperienced, even as a helper, they don't know what they're looking for. And I like it for the horizontal tracks. That seems to help out quite a bit too, but it's been pretty handy. So if you're thinking about it and you can afford it, I would recommend it. I would just recommend that you spend a little bit more money than I did and get, I don't know exactly how it works, but it's more like a 360. Hey, it's me jumping in for a second here. So you can see, I like this one. It takes a rechargeable battery, so it's got a bigger battery, which mine's been okay. But you can see right here, $5.99. The one I have is right up here. They're 3622-21, and I paid $4. So another $100. I would have got the one I wanted, I believe. I would recommend that one. See how that one's got the mirror on it where it looks like it goes, that makes a 360, and it says right on here 360 degrees. So that's the one I would have went with. Over and out. Just so you get more range, because what happens sometimes is you set this on the ground at a job and you're trying to do your verticals and you run out of the height on here because it you know, the range. So you're struggling with, if you don't have a tripod or something or a ladder or just something, you know, because you know how it is when you're there in the heat of things, you got guys running around. It's just super hard. So I just wish I would have had it where I could sit it back and it would do its own thing a little bit more versus I had to, you can't angle it really because then it gets out of whack and it starts blinking and it's not accurate. But I have found uses for it. I've been in some commercial stuff that I've liked where I've, one was actually when we were doing a row of doors. You know, it's hard to keep your commercial angle all the same roughly in the building, you know, especially unless you got something you can measure off, which sometimes we don't, and it's angled or whatever. But I could shoot this, and that's where that 360 would have came in a little bit more helpful because I could have got the doors back here all the way down where I always had to keep moving it. So I wish I would have spent a little bit more money on it than this one. This was a good starting point, but like I said, if you can get the one that has more radius to it, then do it. It's worth the extra $100. So anyways, that's pretty much the reason why I use the laser a lot of times. I just like having it there for like an extra friend. Sometimes I just need an extra friend. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. Take care. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. If you don't mind, hit that like button on your way out. Maybe if not a subscriber, become a subscriber. You know what I mean? What does it hurt? You know, I love reading the comments and we learn things together. So anyways, take care, guys. We'll see you on the next one.